Did you know cardiovascular disease is the leading killer worldwide? Every day, millions unknowingly contribute to heart attacks and strokes just by eating breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Today, I'll explain which foods damage heart tissue and how a single dietary mistake can trigger vascular inflammation. Watch this video until the end so we can figure out what to cut from your diet. Sadly, many people suffer from cardiovascular disease. That's why I want as many viewers as possible to see this video so they can help themselves. To do this, please give it a like. This will help YouTube's algorithm show the video to a new audience. How does food affect your heart? The heart and blood vessels are the conduits of life. When vessels are damaged, a chain of problems is triggered: oxidative stress, narrowing, and blood clots. This can cause heart attacks, strokes, and heart failure. Here are the top 10 foods that kill every day. 10th place goes to white rice. At first glance, white rice seems safe and even healthy. After all, it has been eaten in Asia for centuries. But modern white rice is almost pure starch, which quickly turns into glucose in the blood. A meta-analysis has shown that frequent consumption of white rice is associated with an increased risk of type 2 diabetes, especially among Asian populations. When people overeat and are inactive, eating white rice often can cause sharp spikes in blood sugar. This can then lead to insulin resistance, a condition where cells stop responding to insulin. Insulin resistance leads to inflammation that damages the endothelium, the inner lining of blood vessels. This inflammation is at the root of atherosclerosis and cardiovascular disease. If you are overweight, have metabolic syndrome, or are at risk for diabetes, limit white rice and choose whole grains to help control blood sugar. 9th place goes to bread and baked goods, which are favorites for most people. Unfortunately, modern industrial bread often contains refined flour, sugar, yeast, and gluten, a protein that can trigger allergic and inflammatory reactions. Research shows gluten may raise inflammatory markers in some people, worsening vascular damage. Baked goods often contain trans fats and hydrogenated oils, which can increase inflammation and raise the risk of coronary heart disease. Regularly eating these foods is linked to higher chances of obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Choose whole grain bread without additives and yeast, or better yet, avoid industrially baked goods altogether. 8th place on our list of heart killers is alcohol. Regular alcohol consumption stresses the liver, causes fatty liver disease, and disrupts sugar regulation. Fatty liver disease is linked to inflammation and insulin resistance, raising the risk of varicose veins, atherosclerosis, and other vascular diseases. Sweet alcoholic cocktails and beer are especially dangerous, as they contain large amounts of sugar and calories. Finally, 7th place goes to ultra-processed foods. This term refers to processed foods, such as snacks and ready-made meals, that contain chemical additives. The fact is, according to research, ultra-processed food is 73% of all calories consumed in US and are associated with an increased risk of obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. A large study conducted in France showed that every additional 10% of ultra-processed food in the diet increases the risk of cardiovascular mortality by as much as 12%. Therefore, try to cook vegetables, fruits, grains, and meats using whole foods with minimal processing. 6th place goes to fast food. I'm not just talking about burgers, but the whole package: a bun made from refined flour, a patty deep-fried in refined oils, sweet sauces, and soda. Where would we be without it? Regular fast food consumption is linked to high cholesterol, obesity, metabolic syndrome, and chronic inflammation. All of this gradually leads to death from cardiovascular disease. Frying in reused oils creates carcinogens and trans fats. For a quick meal, pick healthier options and limit how much you eat. Industrially processed vegetable oils: sunflower, corn, soybean, and canola rank 5th among foods that pose the greatest risk to our hearts. All of these oils are rich in omega-6 fatty acids, which, when in excess, create an omega-3 imbalance, triggering inflammation and oxidative stress, and increases the risk of heart attack. And let's not forget the obesity epidemic sweeping the world. It began precisely when such vegetable oils became a staple in our diets. This is clearly illustrated by the example of the Pima Indians. These indigenous people of America, before the advent of Western food, ate primarily fish, rice, corn, and meat. But by the end of the last century, entire villages began to gain weight. An obesity epidemic followed. Yet, they still led active lives. The only change was eating foods fried in industrial oils. Meanwhile, the same tribes in Mexico who kept their usual diet stayed slim and avoided this outcome. But why? When frying, these oils quickly oxidize and form toxic compounds. Unlike extra virgin oils, such as olive and coconut, they retain their beneficial properties. Now I'll reveal the top 3 most harmful to our hearts. Margarine is a hydrogenated oil high in trans fats. The body doesn't recognize trans fats well and uses them as cell-building blocks. As a result, mitochondria are cellular power plants. Cells suffocate from excess junk molecules, which damage tissue. Oxidative stress occurs, function poorly, and produce less energy. Avoid margarine in any spread. Inflammation in blood vessels makes their walls loose and vulnerable, setting the stage for plaque formation and cardiovascular problems. That's why trans fats are called the most harmful fats. They damage both cells and blood vessels. Donuts and other combination foods. Donuts are a concentrate of sugar, refined flour, fats, flavorings, and stabilizers. This product not only overloads the liver and blood vessels with sugar and fat, but also disrupts metabolism. Regular consumption of sweets is linked to metabolic disorders and inflammation, which speed up vascular damage. If you crave sweets, opt for fresh fruit, nuts, or dark chocolate with high cocoa content. Now, at the top of the list is sugar. Yes, regular sugar is the worst food for your heart. Why? It causes sharp spikes in glucose and insulin, promotes obesity, triggers inflammation, and leads to addiction. Sugar is found not only in sweets, but also in sauces, ketchup, bread, cereals, and even healthy bars. My main advice is to minimize your intake of added sugars and read product labels carefully. And please do not think sugar substitutes are a great solution. Many people drink sugar-free soda and believe it's a healthy choice. Recent studies show aspartame is the most common sugar substitute in our products and may cause cancer. If I had to choose products with sugar substitutes, I would prefer stevia and retreat, as they do not raise blood sugar levels and are relatively safe. Our health is shaped by daily choices, not by chance. To protect your heart, start with healthy food. And subscribe to my channel for helpful recommendations and analysis. See you in the next videos.